The village of Middleton sits a little over a mile south of Sudbury in Essex and was the scene of a number of bizarre paranormal events in the early 20th century. All Saints Church is situated slightly away from the village, up a long country lane, and dates back to the mid-12th century, even retaining its original Norman door, and it's here that our story begins. Father Clive Luget, who, after studying at the London College of Divinity and later on Durham University, was ordained a priest in 1910 and went on to serve at 7 churches in the Greater London area before being appointed to Middleton Church in 1931. It was here, on the 11th of December 1932, less than a year into his tenure, that the first strange event occurred when a large ball of light was seen gliding through the village. Clive Luget was one of many who witnessed this and later revealed how hovering above the light he could see a crucifix with Mary the Virgin kneeling before it. 2 days later, Dr. Thornber and his son Francis were visiting Luget at the church when yet again the ball of light reappeared over an area known as the Mound. Dr. Thornber was quick to investigate, leaving Luget and Francis back at the church. He made his way over to the source of the light and described seeing it fall to the ground almost in a kneeling position before shooting upwards and disappearing. Meanwhile, back at the church, further strange events were unfolding. Young Francis, who was 7 years old at the time, had a vision in which he saw the church as it would have looked back in the Middle Ages. He was quick to disclose this to Luget and also said that he'd seen 3 people looking through an opening in the chancel wall. He showed Luget where this opening had been, and after peeling back the plaster they revealed a small cavity which was later identified as a leper squint, a feature of the church that had been hidden away and forgotten for many hundreds of years. Over the coming weeks, Luget claimed to have seen the apparition of Mary the Virgin multiple times, and in an interview in 1933 said,
"The figure is of a young woman in a long flowing robe. Her hair is covered, but she has the most beautiful face. With the appearance, I had a distinct feeling of warm rays, just as you feel when the sun strikes you."
It was in 1933 that People magazine published a front-page article regarding the experiences at Middleton, which captured the attention of people from miles around. Services at the church became more and more elaborate, with Luget filling the building with incense. Robert Bryant the sexton would wear a long cassock with a large medallion hung around his neck, tolling a bell, whilst an acolyte lit candles on the altar. It's estimated that between 300 and 400 people attended each of these services, all huddled around the outside of the church, hoping to catch a glimpse of the apparition. Throughout the rest of 1933, a number of people did indeed witness the apparition or had visions in the church in which she appeared. 5 of these were clairvoyants, many of them children, and surprisingly even a magistrate. Father Luget continued to see what he described as angels on almost a daily basis and was actually very open to speaking to visitors about his experiences. He came to believe that he was in contact with an entity known as Brother Bramante, who would write Latin messages on the rectory walls, which were actually transcribed by Luget. However, unfortunately, all of these records have been destroyed by damp in the rectory cellar over the years. As the years passed, the public interest in the Middleton visions began to fade, and by 1948 the church was decaying, with the churchyard heavily overgrown. After a meeting with the Bishop of Chelmsford to discuss the church's future, Clive Luget retired, and in 1952 in poor health passed away in a Sudbury hospital a year later on the 28th of April 1952 at the age of 69. Since the strange events of the 1930s and 40s, Middleton Church was united with nearby Greater Little Henry, the rectory becoming a private house, and the church and grounds were restored, with a leper squint that was uncovered by Francis back in 1932 being recovered. It would seem that all memory of the Middleton vision has been erased from history. I've examined the story of the Middleton Vision fairly closely, many of the details being published in the 2003 journal Ecclesiology Today, and I have to say I really am sitting on the fence with what I believe happened here. If we go right back to the beginning with what ignited the whole saga, with the ball of light being seen floating through the village, I think it's unwise to dismiss this completely just due to the sheer amount of witnesses. However, I do wonder if what they saw didn't actually have a supernatural origin. Ball lightning is an extremely rare weather phenomenon that's almost completely unstudied by science, in which balls of lightning materialise often on or near ground level, and certainly in 1932 this phenomenon was undocumented, so there's no way any of the witnesses would have been familiar with such an event. Ghost lights or will-o'-the-wisps are something else that could potentially explain what was seen. Usually originating over marshy wetlands, these lights are thought to be gases released from the earth that are then ignited, creating eerie looking lights. Now I'm slightly less convinced by this theory for the simple fact that what was actually seen was a singular large ball of light, whereas with will-o'-the-wisps and marsh gases they're usually sort of more wispy sort of forms that are seen. And not to mention, I don't think this area of Suffolk with the topography really matches up with that where marsh gases are usually originating. Another aspect of the Middleton Visions to examine is the man at the centre of the whole story, Father Clive Luget. As well as his devout faith, he was also known to have a keen interest in medieval religious life as well as the supernatural, so much so that in 1931 he published a book entitled The Vision of Latin Priory, and it's this publication that draws some suspicion into the authenticity of Luget. The book was a religious novel written for children and follows the author and his friends as they visit the abandoned Latin Priory in Essex, where they experience a vision and are transported back to the Middle Ages, where they witness the priory and monastic life as it would have looked. After undertaking a number of tasks and interacting with the monks, the friends are transported back to modern day, standing all alone in the ruins. Curiously, this book was published a mere 2 years prior to the first strange events occurring in Middleton, namely young Francis Thornber allegedly having his own vision in the church, in which he witnessed medieval life. I don't think it's too much of a stretch to suppose that maybe Francis had read or heard of the novel, and possibly in a way to impress Luget, invented his own vision in the church. The fact that Borley, the home of the most haunted house in England, is only a few miles away from Middleton, and the supposed haunting here was occurring at the same time, I'm certain that there is some kind of link. Having an interest in matters such as the supernatural, I'm sure that Father Luget would have visited Borley, maybe even the rectory itself. He certainly met Mary Ann Foyster, and so it's possible that he was either influenced or drew inspiration from the Borley rectory haunting. One of the most striking similarities between the two hauntings is the writing of messages on the rectory walls by the supposed spirits. In Borley it was supposedly done by the ghost of a long deceased nun, and in Middleton by the entity known as Brother Bramante, who's also been interpreted as being a monk sort of character from a religious sect. Now whether the Middleton haunting was a copycat sort of haunting of Borley, or whether the similarities are merely coincidental, I think it's unwise to completely rule out the parallels of these two cases. It's impossible to know for sure the truth about what happened here over 90 years ago, and although with dozens of witnesses, some aspects of the story do seem quite compelling, there are just as many factors that point towards a fraud. Although there hasn't been any reported sightings of the White Lady here since the 1930s, we thought that with such an interesting backstory and potential for paranormal activity, we would perform an investigation of the church. And a number of days later, on a dry, still night, we returned in hopes of documenting a modern continuation of the Middleton Visions. The first half hour spent inside the church was fairly uneventful, despite our best efforts of calling out and using various pieces of equipment to try and detect any anomalies in the environment. This was until we all grouped together in the chancel and began hearing a series of unexplained sounds. Did you do that? Get close to it like James just did?
You can use our energy that bit.
Did you hear that just then?
Yeah, I heard that. What was it?
I don't know.
Oh, the wood grate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard that. Is that someone sat down with us in this bit?
Yeah. I don't know where it came from. Was it?
It sounded like, I want to say in front of me, but
That chair.
possibly.
What does that sound like? Is it on the chair?
No, kneel on the thing here.
Matt.
Yeah. No, that doesn't make any
I
noise.
thought it was the sound of these.
I can't work out.
No, it wasn't that. I thought it was from over here, like someone sitting like.
Definitely around here.
Yeah. Unless what's the thing at the back?
Although we can't be sure, this knocking sound seemed to have originated from the chancel stained glass window, and to us it sounds like a very deliberate 2 knocks.
I don't know if there's a tree out there or not.
I don't think there was anywhere near the outside. Hello?
What was that? That was like a deep.
It's like someone just sat down somewhere.
Oh, I got shivers.
Was that coming down there?
Definitely down there. It was like someone sat in a pew. Have you come to join us?
Oh, there's a weird atmosphere down there now.
It looks weird, doesn't it?
I just got a
I
chill.
don't like it. I don't know if it's like the other one's red lights that just.
It's got proper colours like this. It's got breath now.
Weird.
You can see my breath.
In a
I've gone absolutely crazy.
weird way, is it appropriate to turn the candles out?
No.
The fact that that's your reaction makes me think we should.
Yeah, because you always say that.
Yeah, because.
Because I'm a big girl's blouse and you look like scaring the big girl's blouse out of me.
No. I think sometimes when we get.
Did you just do that with your fingers?
Yeah.
You rotter.
Sometimes, like, when we end up. I think it's almost a state of mind sometimes. When we're in a more kind of starting to get the fear with it, that seems to draw it out.
I feel very unsettled about it. Yeah.
It's weird. As soon as you start going down, there's 2 like areas of like noise.
In the pew areas.
Yeah.
In the what, sorry?
In the pew areas.
I thought you said pube.
Oh, maybe I did by mistake. Sorry, in the pew areas.
That's like, I should have this on in the pube areas. I have to take a trip to the
It's
clinic.
like there's 2 areas of like visible noise. It's really weird. Like my attention is drawn
Yeah.
to that. It's really creepy walking down there. I just sort of like picked up as if there was someone here, which made me stop for a second.
you were walking like ever so timidly. Not in a like I'm taking.
Do you want to go?
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying it in a way to take the mick. I'm
Yeah,
just
yeah.
saying it's like like you said earlier about it's a fact.
So look, you try swap over, see if what you kind of get from it. Because as soon as it gets to that threshold, it sort of starts to feel like, not sure if I want to go any further really. It's so much different as well without having the camera and just having the pure.
Yeah. Oh, I know what you mean.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it?
I know there's an archway here, but it's like there's a physical wall.
Yeah, I was going to say your exact same point as where I was.
Yeah, it's literally past this archway. It's like you're walking, this side is fine, and as soon as you get here, there's just like walking into something.
You kind of get that. It's sort of like that feeling when you walk into a pub and everyone in there turns and looks at you.
Oh, we get that all the time.
Just me here, Milo.
What's that? You hear that?
It's the window again.
There's 2 taps on the window. Again?
What is it? Any more taps? Is it? I don't know. There's a tree out there.
No, there's no trees around. That was weird. That was like, it was like, then did it again, it went,
Yeah. On the glass.
was it on the glass near you? Like?
I think it's the big one behind.
Anyways, find out if you go outside and see if there's a tree.
Yeah. Off you pop.
In an attempt to explain the knocking sound that had just occurred for the 3rd time, myself and Sophie decided to head outside to inspect the exterior of the church for any low-hanging branches or wildlife that may have been responsible for the sounds.
Why is it warmer outside?
It's a lot warmer out here.
If anything happens, that's going to be my run to grab the camera.
When it happens, I'm trying to close my eyes, pretend I don't exist.
Are they both happening?
Yep. Oops. It was moving over there.
I thought it was down that way.
There's nothing there.
No, nothing. No way. Make that. Shit on it. Fuck. No, there's no tree branch anywhere near.
Closest trees are over here. No, there's no trees anywhere near this.
Not anywhere near the windows at all.
What about gutters?
No, I don't think so. Unless what's up? Yeah, there is some, but on the side, not on the area near the windows.
Oh well.
There's no tree there.
See, I don't want to look to the right now. What is that?
That's not there, is it?
No, you wouldn't be able to hear them out there.
Something just moved.
I know, that's been happened 4 times.
Yeah.
And that was happening, and they were still there because I saw the torch. I absolutely hate this. Not a single tree.
Yeah, there's no.
Did you say something kind of loud?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a pigeon that's made us jump,
There wasn't a pigeon, there was about 10.
but there's no trees out there.
No, did Sophie sort of like say something out about that?
Yeah.
When you were pointing that way, I thought I heard like a voice from that way sort of going like that.
But when you left, it sounded like some bowl of Rice Krispies up there.
Yeah, something moved big over there. When
Four times.
Oh no, that we'd have probably just left the building by then.
Yeah, because I saw the torch there, and there was noise there.
We just recorded this unusual form on camera. We're not 100% sure what it could be, possibly a dust reflection or flying insect, or maybe we have captured some essence of the White Lady on camera.
But it's so much more colder in here than it is outside.
Yeah.
That's what I said earlier. It's really mild outside, but here, I'm literally freezing.
But it seems like that's kicked in since we've been here.
Yeah, when we first got in here, I don't remember it being cold.
No.
It was like, I mean, the fact we've just walked outside and it.
That's playing. I thought it was like sort of rolling off the roof.
I thought it was an earthquake.
Yeah, the fact we've just walked outside and it felt like actually quite toasty out there compared to in here. And I don't remember walking in and it feeling cold when we walked in.
No.
It has dropped and dropped.
Yeah.
And dropped.
But not outside.
No.
Upon reviewing the footage from inside the church, we discovered this strange light anomaly in the chancel with James and Lauren. What makes this even stranger is that moments before this was captured, both James and Lauren claimed to have heard the sound of something moving within the church. We matched up the footage of James and Lauren with the locked-off camera that captured the light anomaly to ensure that neither of them moved in time with the light or created some kind of shadow or reflection, and we can clearly see that this was not the case. Just to be 100% sure that we'd covered all bases, we also matched up the footage from the outside of the church, and it was then that the penny dropped, as the anomaly can clearly be seen moving at the exact moment I shone the torch at the church. Although slightly disappointing that this didn't turn out to be anything inexplicable, it did once again highlight the importance of debunking one's captures, as well as the pros and cons of having multiple cameras and people at a location. This also drew attention to how otherwise separate events can wrongly be tied together, with an unexplained sound being heard moments before the light appearing. Had we not looked into this further, we may have attributed each of these events to one another. We remained at the church for a while longer, but didn't experience anything substantial, and we can't say with complete certainty that the sounds we'd recorded earlier in the night were not created by something natural. The story of the Middleton visions is an intriguing one. Was there really something strange going on at the church and the surrounding area in the early 1930s, or were these accounts nothing more than people's overactive imaginations, taking inspiration from other hauntings and fiction? Certainly, on our investigation, we didn't experience anything as profound as what Lucia had spoken of, but that's not to say that there isn't still some kind of energy here, but on a much subtler level.